Put your hands.
Welcome to Episode 7 of the Force Review. I'll be your host for the next few minutes. I'm an active patrol officer with 13 years of patrol experience. I've handled just about every type of radio call out there, from shoplifting to human trafficking. I've reviewed dozens of officer-involved shootings, and I'm here to break this one down for you. Let's get to it. February 19th, 2022, a Winter Park police officer in Florida shot and killed Daniel Knight at a wedding reception. 3 days later, Carl Soto, co-founder of Black Lives Matter Restoration Polk, Inc., hosted a news conference in which he alleged the following.
We do believe this is murder.
His only crime that night was having a good time.
Because their loved one was brutally, viciously murdered at their reception without justifiable cause. There was no reason that the officer had any reason or suspicion to fear for his life. Was brutally, viciously murdered. The Winter Park Police Department is claiming that he physically assaulted this woman right here, which is what made them arrive at the scene. They explicitly stipulated that Mr. Knight allegedly put his hands around his mother's neck and shoved her against a wall on multiple occasions.
He didn't do nothing to me. I don't have any bruises. I don't have any scratches.
We are demanding criminal charges, unprovoked murder.
Is Carl Soto right? Did a Winter Park police officer murder Daniel Knight? Not to worry, the Force Review will give you the answer in minutes. And, unlike Mr. Soto, we will back our allegations with evidence and legal analysis. February 19th, 2022, Winter Park, Florida. Police received a 911 call from someone at a wedding reception.
I have a very irate, drunk, is trying to beat people up. He's being violent. He's grabbing an older woman and shoving her. Is anyone injured? Possibly. 2 people he puts on the floor.
The officers responding to the scene have reasonable suspicion to detain the subject of the 911 call to investigate possible violations of the following Florida statutes. 856.011. Disorderly intoxication, 784.011, assault, 784.03, battery, and 825.102, abuse of an elderly person. 2 police officers who the department has not named responded to the call. They confront Daniel Knight.
Right by the lake right there is yelling. Shut up! Come on, G! I don't give a...
He's okay. He's our brother. He's our brother.
Man, that ain't got nothing to do with me.
It's his first wedding.
Shut up.
It's his first wedding. It's his
Back
first.
up.
Mr. Knight matches the description of the suspect given in the radio call. Officer 1 orders a female standing next to Mr. Knight to move out of the way. She stays next to Mr. Knight, making no attempt to move. The officer tries to pull her away. Mr. Knight pulls her back, keeping her with him.
Hey, shut up.
Listen,
Back
it's his
up.
first wedding.
Back up. Back up. Move out of the way. Move out of the way.
Step away.
Move out of the way. Move out of the way. Man, move out of the way.
Have any weapons?
Move out of the way. Move out of the way.
Have any
Come here for a second. Come here for a second. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Don't you snatch my mother, sister.
Danny.
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Hey, partner. Hey. Hey.
Back up. Shut up.
Hey. Put your hands behind your back.
Back up.
Put your hands behind your back. Step away from him. Step away from him.
Officer 2 orders Mr. Knight to put his hands behind his back. Mr. Knight does not follow this order. He is now in violation of Florida Statute 843.02, resisting an officer. The officers now have probable cause to arrest him.
Step back, Sam. Step back.
You touch my sister. Hey, you touch my sister. Don't let that mother come over here. Put your hands.
Wait. No, step back. Step back.
Just strong.
Put your hands. Step back. Step back. Put your hands behind your back now. Put your
Mr. Knight punches Officer 1, who falls to the ground. Winter Park PD says the punch rendered him unconscious. It's clear from the video that he's dazed and his mental faculties are diminished for at least 1 minute and 15 seconds. He's not even able to stand during that period, and only then with help.
hands.
Officer 2 attempts to tase Mr. Knight, but it doesn't work. Mr. Knight knocks Officer 2 to the ground. Winter Park PD says that Mr. Knight continued to punch Officer 2 while he was on the ground. This claim is backed by video evidence. Here you can see an arm arcing down in Officer 2's body cam. Officer 2 fires 7 shots, killing Mr. Knight. Here's Officer 1's camera when he gets punched by Mr. Knight.
What's up? Talk to me. Okay, hey, talk to me.
As you can see, the punch dazed him pretty good. He gets up, stumbles back down, grabs his radio mic, then drops it. He's clearly not all there. So was Officer 2 justified? He shot and killed an unarmed man. Let's take a look at Florida Statute 782.02, justifiable use of deadly force. It says, the use of deadly force is justifiable when a person is resisting any attempt to murder such person or to commit any felony upon him. So was Mr. Knight attempting to commit a felony upon Officer 2? Let's take a look at a felony that may qualify. Florida Statute 784.045, aggravated battery, states that a person commits aggravated battery who, in committing battery, causes great bodily harm, permanent disability, or permanent disfigurement. Clearly, Mr. Knight was committing battery on Officer 2 when Officer 2 shot him. The question remains whether Mr. Knight's attack qualified as aggravated battery. The difference between simple battery and aggravated battery is that an aggravated battery causes great bodily harm, permanent disability, or permanent disfigurement. So how does Florida define great bodily harm? For that, we have to look at the Florida jury instructions for aggravated battery. They say great bodily harm means great as distinguished from slight, trivial, minor, or moderate harm, and as such does not include mere bruises. It would have been reasonable for Officer 2 to believe that Mr. Knight was going to at least break his jaw, break his nose, or give him a concussion. All of these outcomes would qualify as great bodily harm under Florida law. It is also significant that Mr. Knight had just knocked out his partner and that Mr. Knight was now towering above Officer 2 in a position to cause maximum damage, not to mention Mr. Knight's size and physique. So yes, Officer 2 could have reasonably believed that Mr. Knight was going to commit aggravated battery against him. Thus, he was justified to shoot Mr. Knight to defend himself. One more thing. During the press conference, Mr. Knight's mother said that Mr. Knight didn't do anything to her. Does that mean the officers had no reasonable suspicion to detain him? No. Her claim after the incident changes nothing. The officers still had the authority to detain Mr. Knight for elder abuse so they could investigate the allegation. They also still had 3 additional crimes to investigate. But that does bring up an interesting question. How much action can police take based on a 911 call? Well, it depends on the reliability of the information and the type of situation alleged. Navarette V California covers a case where a 911 caller alleged that she had been run off the road by another vehicle. She described the vehicle to the dispatcher and police stopped it. The U.S. Supreme Court stated, another indicator of veracity is the caller's use of the 911 emergency system. A 911 call has some features that allow for identifying and tracing callers, and thus provide some safeguards against making false reports with immunity. Other information provided in the 911 call that can also help bolster its reliability are if the caller identified himself, Massachusetts v. Upton, whether the caller gave their location, U.S. v. Woods, if the caller provided detailed information, Navarette v. California, if the caller was reporting something that was currently happening, Navarette v. California, and the caller's demeanor, Navarette v. California. In this case, the 911 caller stated she was at the reception, watching the incident unfold, and provided detailed information. Thus, her information would be deemed reliable enough for the police to make a detention. Courts have also held that calls reporting emergency situations may be acted upon more readily by police with less corroboration. The courts would require less corroboration for this particular call than most calls because of some of Mr. Knight's actions alleged by the caller. Based on our analysis, the Force Review predicts that Officer 2 will not be prosecuted. Contrary to the wild allegations made by Carl Soto, this one isn't even a close call. We've got a similar case for you. On January 14, 2011, LAPD officer Aaron Goff and his partner became involved in a fight with Reginald Doucet. Mr. Doucet was unarmed. Officer Goff shot Mr. Doucet during the struggle, killing him. Although we were unable to locate a report from the LA County District Attorney or a news article specifying whether Officer Goff was charged or not, we did locate a news article showing that he was cleared by the police commission. Although it is possible for an officer to be found within policy and still be criminally charged, that is a very rare case. In this case, it does not appear Officer Goff was criminally charged. That is it for Episode 7 of the Force Review. If you want to take a deeper dive into the credibility of 911 callers, check out Episodes 1 and 2. They contain full 911 calls. See if you can determine their reliability using the factors we outlined in this episode. And as always, we will see you on the next one.